And hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in this fine world. My name is Digital Dragon, aka Luke. This is the Dragon Den. Thank you so much for coming out and sharing your time with me today as we get started on our next build in the series. For those of you that have been following along, we just recently completed Boron 2.4 build. You might be able to hear that running behind me right here. This is called Dragon. And right now, we are in the process of printing a few more parts for the actual build that we're going to be working on today. You might see the top of the frame right over here. This is the custom sourced, custom built frame that we'll be using today on this build. Before we get it up on the workbench, we're going to actually start off on doing some basic prep steps. Putting in some heat set inserts, taking a look at the manual, and going through that. I'm going to take a gander, see if anybody stepped into the room yet. Congrats, Nat. Hey, Kata. How are you all doing this evening? Or today? Hope everything's going fine with you all today. So yeah, we recently, like I said, completed the Boron 2.4 build. We completed this on stream on Tuesday night. We did a few test sample test prints just to check out the extrusion multiplier. I'd already done input shaping, calibrated the extruder, input shaping, step back, gantry squaring, calibrate the extruder, input shaping, and then did some pressure advance and some extrusion multiplier testing on stream. And then right before we ended the stream, I started a cinder wing cyborg. For those of you that follow me on Twitch or on Discord, I posted pictures of that dragon. It came out beautifully. It was printed in printed solid Jesse PLA in mystery orange. And it was so nice that yesterday when my parents stopped by, since they were near town, they stopped by and kind of raided my garden. My mom did a 5-finger discount and took that and several other prints that I had sitting around the house, as she normally does. Dad's, but yeah, so I will have to print another one of those once again on the Boron 2.4. This is done. Right now, I am trying to print a couple of other parts that I realized I had forgotten to print out. And I also noticed when I was inventorying the parts that I had a couple that were one rev behind. So I had to scramble and print out a few more parts yesterday and today for the build we're working today. I believe we have everything done except for what's printing and a couple of other brackets that'll go in the electronics compartment, which is the thing towards the end. I did want to get started on this build a little bit early. Hey, Western Rewind, how are you doing, sis? Glad you could stop by. Glad you got a few minutes on the farm to stop by. I'm just kind of going over some things. So as you can see, Dragon is sitting back here and she is up and running. Since the stream, I did also work on the umbilical cable. So basically what happened was I removed the umbilical cable and I cut a small length off. So I have that as a template for the next build, which will be a Trident build. It's going to use the same tool head board and CAN bus setup. So I wanted to have that as a template, but I cut probably that much cord off when I was able to shorten it and go umbilical. And it is fully enclosed now. It's been printing ABS. It does, once again, have a Revo Boron edition with a 6 millimeter, or excuse me, a 0.6 millimeter obsidian nozzle in it. So it does have the hard nozzle in it. That's been working great. The prints have been coming out great. In fact, this right here is one of the prints off that printer. This was printed this side down. You know, everything's looking beautiful on it. Prints are coming out just perfect as far as size and everything. Because I was printing the left side of the skirts out on the Ender 3, which I've had tuned in for a while, and the right side over here, and they're all dimensionally the same. So that works out really well. Should be just fine. I also printed the new feet that I will need for this build because these are slightly different feet. They're a little bit wider each direction because we're not using the standard Ender 5 frame as the base for this printer build. So yeah, everything's been going good. She's run pretty much 2 days nonstop. I've had the Ender 3, the 2.4, and the V0 pretty much going nonstop the last 2 days trying to reprint the parts that have been revised since I last printed them. So this build, we are going to follow the ZeroG manual. A couple of things may be a little different. This is not a released version yet. So some things are still changing. Still don't have the, I think I now have the step file to cut the bottom and deck panels for it. So we will work on cutting those off stream, get those added in down the road. And normally on this, when you talk about a ZeroG Mercury 1, you're talking about swapping the standard XY Cartesian style movement system of an Ender 5 or an Plus to a Core XY setup. So the first step, Mercury 1, switches you over to a Core XY, which changes the gantry. So when we look at our printer here, we would be changing the gantry setup, which in this case would be this part right here. This is a fully enclosed frame. Got an alignment issue right there. But this is a fully enclosed frame, and the Hydra will be built at the bottom of this. And normally on an Ender 5, you would have a cantilevered bed, so you'd have a lead screw and 2 rods on the back side. The Ender 5 Plus, because it's bigger, you would have a lead screw and then a linear rod on each side. That gives you a very sturdy bed. We're going to be doing the Hydra mod on this, which basically gives it a triple independent lead screw like a triangle. Like I said, I realize I will have to, for whatever reason, these are not completely flush, but I can fix those two off stream. Everything else, I've already squared that frame up. Everything is square. I just have some extrusions that aren't completely flush still out. Real fast. See who all stepped in. Not too many people. Like I said, this is an ad hoc stream. This is not a normal stream time. My normal stream times are Tuesday evenings and Saturday mornings. We will also be working on this Saturday morning, but I really wanted to get to work on this particular printer build because it's going with me to Murph. And I've got a lot of things to get done between now and Murph because Dragon, our 2.4 build's going with us. This ZeroG build is going with us. I've got another printer that I'm going to be bringing to Westbury 1, as well as other things to print to get there, such as a killdozer and a top fuel dragster, provided I can get it. So a lot of stuff going on here in the near future. And where I'm going to start off on this build is I'm actually going to try and work from the bottom up. So I'm going to start by working on the skirts and the feet. Now, right now, everything is kind of monotonic, meaning my skirts are all the dark gray, and the feet are all dark gray right now. What I am envisioning in my mind is swapping the center section out with our fluorescent blue, and possibly even reprinting the feet in fluorescent blue as well. That will make the braided pieces gray, and then the feet and the center pieces as fluorescent blue. But I'm going to start with just doing the center pieces in fluorescent blue, see how I like that look, get your all's opinion on Saturday, and then if, see if that's enough color pop on it, or if we want to go ahead and look at doing the actual feet as well. Hey Shenanigans, how's it going? Yep, we're going to start on another build today, believe it or not. We've just been chatting and hanging out a little bit, waiting for some people to come in. I know this is a non-standard stream day for me. I'm doing good. I may have to step off the camera to blow my nose every once in a while because I did go outside and pull some weeds earlier today and got a lot of wind going, so I probably got a bunch of garbage and junk all up in my sinuses, but well, hopefully we'll be good. And the nice thing about swapping out these center pieces is there's no heat set inserts. It's not like I have to do some extra work to get heat set inserts back out of them. It would just be a matter of reprinting these parts, as well as whether or not I want to try and do a layer swap and get the Z as the gray, so it'll stand out a little. Just have to check the file, figure out which layer to actually do a swap on. You won't notice layer swap as the sides will be covered up. That'll be a standard way of doing that. Just going to move those off to the side because we're not going to need them. I will switch our view here, because what we're going to start off doing is a little bit of prep work. Let me change this around just a little bit. Get you more on the bench and a little less in that light. We're going to start off just doing some basic stuff. So each one of these skirts, it's going to take a M5 screw that'll hold it into the extrusion, and then on the bottom edge will be your plate, and there's a little lip that your bottom electronics cover plate will be. And so we need to get 2 heat set inserts in each side of these. For all of the plates, our feet, we'll just take an M5 bolt on each corner. There won't be one in the middle, but you could if you really wanted to. And then we'll put our foot on, our rubber foot, using an M5 nut and an M5 screw. Okay. Our motor mounts for the Hydra system, only the rear Z mount will require 3 heat set inserts. This will be for the cable chain. And then our arms for our Hydra are going to require 5 along each arm. And this will be, for the small MGN 9C by 100 linear rails that will go on them. And then the center one, once again, the rear center, has a couple of options back here so that you can mount a Wago connector so you can make your bed a little quick disconnect. And then also 3 more on the side here for the top anchor point for your cable chain. So we're just going to go through and each of them has 4 at the bottom for your lead screw palm nut. So we're just going to start off doing some heat set inserts and getting that chore out of the way. Normally I do this off stream, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like every once in a while I need to do it on stream just so everybody sees that, unfortunately, it's not all, hey, how's it going, Zombie Hedgehog? That unfortunately, some of this is just tedious work, right? You do have to put in heat set inserts. You do have to, that's the other thing here is this entire build, I am not using any kits. Like for my first ZeroG, the one that's built on the Ender 5 Plus platform downstairs, I used the Mercury kit and the Hydra kit from Fabrico and got all the extra parts, so the bed, the rails, and everything from Fabrico. I paid for those myself. It wasn't a sponsored build. This build here, once I get the frame up here again, we'll talk about the frame. Let me get back up. So the frame here, we'll switch back to the main camera. So the frame here is a custom build frame. It's going to allow for full enclosure. It is based on the sizing for the Ender 5 or Ender 5 Pro size. It will be a 275 millimeter bed. The frame was purchased lengthwise, pre-cut by Mitsumi. So I ordered all the frame parts from Mitsumi minus the X gantry because I missed that one. So I just bought a set of 800 millimeter long 2020 extrusions off AliExpress and cut that one myself. But all the blind joints on here were measured, drilled, or measured, punch set or set punched, drilled, and then all the taps were done by me by hand. So this is very much, I mean, it's a spec frame for this build once it's released, but it's very much a manual thing at this point. There wasn't a kit for me to leverage. I'm sorry, I'm fighting with this mic wire tonight. So how are you doing tonight, Zombie? How goes your Trident build? Because I may be running a couple of builds simultaneously, and the other one's a Trident build because I just got the travel itinerary. My wife's coming home on Wednesday, and currently the Trident frame is sitting on the kitchen counter. So I probably need to get that moved before she gets back here. Is nearly done? Good. That's right. You were working on panels and stuff on stream yesterday, weren't you? I should say last night. So the rest of the parts for this build, you may see a series of names there on the left-hand side. LBO Motors has provided motors and an Orbiter 2 extruder and filament sensor for this build. Big Tree Tech has chipped in with a Manta M8P board with a CB1 module. I just got thinking, I'm not sure if that was a CB1 2.1 or 2.2 board. I'll have to look at that. Oh, your bamboo came in today. Nice. Are you going to unbox it on your stream tonight? Or Have you already got it unboxed because you couldn't wait? And did you get it with an AMS? And then KB3D has provided all of the linear rails, the bearings, the belts, pulleys, some more EP2 lube because I was running low. I don't want to say running low, like I was out, but I am getting close. So got some more lube. And he also gave me a shirt. I'm not wearing it right now because, well, I still haven't washed it. But it's a black shirt, so I don't want to wash it and wear it too many times before Murph because black fades. Okay, you got it with the AMS. Nice, because I know you were talking about how you like their AMS, and I do think that their AMS system is probably one of the better multi-material setups that I've seen in a while. Though I have not got my hands on the MMU3 yet, but it's moving it closer to, like you were saying the other night on stream, just kind of load and forget. But now that I've got my 2.4 built, and I'm building this one here, I need to take a look because one of these is going to get the Tradrac beta installed on it. So I'll have a second multi-material system set up. Yeah, nice. Nice. So the 2.4, aka Fade Dragon, is right here, and she's actually been printing parts for the build that we're doing right now. I realized on Tuesday after I went through and was doing some prep work and going through and making sure I had all the parts, that lo and behold, I actually did not have all of the latest parts. So I did have to reprint some parts. So I had the Inner 5 going, I had the 2.4 going, and the Inner 3 going, the Boron 2.4 going, and the Boron 01 going. But this particular build, other than being a different size, it's going to be using the same, I'll say, setup. So the orbiter system, or the orbiter extruder. Currently, I've got a Dragon high flow with a 6mm nozzle on the Inner 5 Plus downstairs. This has been converted. And this one, I'm going to put another Revo on just because I'm falling in love with that system. I know it's not the Rapido. I know it's got high flow options now, though I don't have my hands on one. But really, I'm not printing. The high flow for me hasn't been a big deal. It hasn't been a showstopper yet. So, give me a 0.6 or a 0.8, maybe with an obsidian, so I can print some abrasives and let me go. Yeah, and whatever system you have, you've got to do some type of loading to it, right? Whether it's an MMU2, an MMU3 when it comes out, Tradrac, an ERCFA, the AMS, even the 3D Chameleon, you've got to do some type of loading so that the system knows, one, that there's filament there, and two, that the filament's parked in the right position, right? Because every single one of them has to deal with what is the known distance from the gear drive on the MMU and the extruder gears on the actual tool head, right? Because even the 3D Chameleon, it just needs to know that length so that once it pushes X number of millimeters, it disengages the motors on the Chameleon and the it's taken over. It's taken over by the extruder motor. On this one, which is the rear plate that'll have the switch, I also need to put heat set inserts in here. Hey, Rob, hey, how are you doing tonight, sir? Hope your day is going well. And I did self-source a few parts from Amazon and AliExpress because the bed size that I needed wasn't in stock. And lo and behold, Fabrico got them in like 2 days ago, and they're already out of stock. So that's how popular this printer is becoming. Is that the Fabrico's getting the kits, and they're going right out the door. Right. So I did get it's a AliExpress kit that was actually done in collaboration with the ZeroG team. So it does meet the right specs. It is an ATP 5 plate. So we'll be good to go there. And what you're seeing me do here is I heat up the inset and I get it in about 90% of the way. So maybe there's like a half mil still sticking out. And then I'm pressing it up against the edge of my metal workbench here, which does a couple of things. One, it almost guarantees me that I'm going to have that heat set flush to the top of the printed part. And two, because it's a big piece of metal, in essence, it pulls some of the heat out of the heat set to help it cool off a little bit faster. So as many of these as I can do that with, I will. I can't do that along this top because there is a bit of a there this down before I wind up melting. I shouldn't. Switch cameras. You know, there is a little bit of a recess here. I can get the right angle. You can see so there is a little bit of a lip. And then these little pieces right at the end, these little nubs, will actually be the carriage stops on these rims. So the 3D printed parts were very, very well designed. Oh, I think I think the Rook's going to be the same way. I think that's going to sell out real fast because I think all the first pre-orders are already sold out, and they're working on the second set, and I'm pretty sure those will be sold out like today or tomorrow. Do I think Rook kits will hit Ollie? I don't see why not. I mean, everything else has, and it is an open source design. I would be kind of surprised that it hasn't already hit Ollie just because that printer seems to have like just taken off. And the question is, will they have just a Rook or will they have a 2020 version or both? And as I'm doing these, I'm starting off at the top here. Remember that I just did these. So the bottom 4 set screws are still a little warm. So you want to make sure, if at all possible, you have like a silicone mat or another type of mat that's got some heat resistance to it. So you don't go in and melt your mat when you're trying to do heat set inserts on multiple sides of the part. But yeah, I would be really surprised if the Rook kits don't start hitting Ollie in the near future. Yeah, it seems like everybody and their brother right now is coming out with a desktop laser as well. And I'm almost thinking that we're going to start seeing dedicated like desktop CNC kits coming. I mean, we've already got like the 3018s and stuff, but I'm talking about like ones that are a little bit more next level than that. So Westery, how's farm life treating you today? Did you get all your hay and stuff last night? Fortunately, I had to go outside and do some yard work. When I came back in, you were offline. Just mowing? Nice. Yeah, that's what I started doing yesterday, but my I need to get off my butt because my big zero turn mower is currently down and out with so the front tires popped off, got flat and popped off the bead over winter. So I need to get those back on and get it squared away. I've just been kind of lazy in one aspect because now that means that I have to push mow with a 20-inch push mower, and it's an electric mower that I had at my old house when I had like next to nothing for a yard. Now I've got 3/4 of an acre, and it's somewhat hilly, so it makes it fun. Okay, yeah, going through the old boards. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you got some old boards there, that if they're not like dry rotting, you probably got some pretty nice boards there. Old barn boards are always nice boards to use for various projects. But be careful when you're out there looking. You know, that's where those note ropes are at. So Westery, speaking of note ropes, so the first print on the 2.4, like the first real, hey, I'm gonna print this is, I'll say the epic test print was a Cinderwing 3D cyborg snake, and we printed it and printed solid Jesse PLA mystery orange. And I am apparently going to have to print another one because my plan was to, well, bring it to you at Murph. And yeah, my mother, when she was over here yesterday, 5 finger discounted it. Yeah. She was like, oh, that's nice. Put it around her neck and never took it back off and left with it. So okay, she grabbed several more prints as well on her way out. So yeah, I'm just using a straight soldering iron. I do have a one of the LDO tools that I got from Fabrico Hector out at Rocky Mountain. But in order to use it, I got to pull out the other soldering iron that's like 2 part with the station and everything. And this thing is so convenient. Just I'll just go for it. Like I said, normally I get it close and then I'll push it up against the edge of my desk, which is a metal bench, a metal framed bench. And I'll use that to get the heads of the heat set inserts flush with the top of the print. But I can't do that right here because they're recessed down just a little bit from the face of the print. So just kind of eyeball those. Those got 3 more over on this one. So how are you doing tonight, Creatix Brit? And I know somebody asked you during your stream if you planned on releasing the files for that necklace. I don't remember seeing the answer, so I figured I would ask while you were here. And then these will be the, we'll call them mini tanks. That is from a side profile. They kind of look like a little tank with a turret. And the front turret pieces here do get heat set inserts in them as well. So we'll go ahead and do those now. Oh, definitely interested in it. Okay, I believe that is all that we're going to do for now. So put that over to the side so I don't burden myself with it. Okay. And Modlight has snuck in. How are you doing, my friend? How are you doing? So, the manual here. This is the online manual. There is a preview version of a PDF manual, but it only covers the actual Mercury 1 portion. And we're going to start looking, like I said, I'm going to build from the bottom up, which means we'll start with Hydra, but I'm actually going to start before that and switch my scene back over. And we'll just start working on putting the skirts on. So it's going to be these primary skirt sections. and the feet. So these parts right here that could be for Hydra, I'm going to scoot those off right for now, and we will break those out right after we get our skirts. And I actually contemplating getting like a box, just a big box to set on the floor here so I can set the printer on it, because I think it would be easier for everybody to see. Because it's kind of a tall frame printer. Once again, the gantry will be up here, and then this is going to be the piece for the enclosure, and that's where you guys might be able to see there's just a little bit of mismatch right here, so I need to fix a couple of the top joints for whatever reason are not flush, so I will do that off stream to get flush. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this down on its back. And I just covered up the just pull the five rolling T-nuts out. Put that back. And once again, this is a straight up Mitsumi frame. So the T-nuts are going to hold in here just fine, unlike the slightly out of spec frame we're using on the 2.4. Just got off your bass boat and looking at some plans for something I'm going to build and have most of it 3D printed. Oh, nice. Nice. So I am going to be using standard socket head bolts for these. And the way this is going to work is there will be, I'm going to figure it out. There will be one on this side, one on this side, the centerpiece, and then the legs. And I need to double check because I believe there was one difference in one of the fronts. Don't rightfully know which one it was. So we'll just print it and hope that there was a faux pas. Basically, a couple of T-nuts are already in here because I had some other feet from a regular size version in here just to provide some keep it off the carpet so I didn't snag the carpet on the edge as I was moving it around. And carpet. My spouse would probably not like me too much for doing that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to not even going to worry about centering it right now. I just want to work on getting my first couple of pieces on here, and then it'll basically, I'll say, self-align or self-center. Okay, so they've got the holes in the bottom, so you can put your tool straight on through it. And then once again, I'm using, I could use flatheads on, or button head cap screws on here, but I've got a lot of the socket heads to work with. Once again, I'm using parts that I have on hand because, well, I've got plenty of parts for most of it, and I self-sourced the stuff that I needed rather than going through and getting it quote-unquote kit. Hey, Everything Plus Ultra, how are you doing? I'm doing good. So I want that just to be able to move around a bit. I'm trying to line these up with holes and get them going. Hey, Turtle Crawler, how are you doing? Yep, you should know this frame. You should know this frame. I'm just kind of loosely getting these in here and work on getting these lined up. So the frame assembly went beautiful. It's been assembled for a little while. Did you make this for all three screws to go in, or just the two on the side and the center one's optional? Or so for those of you that are not in the know, Turtle Crawler is part of the ZeroG team, and he's the one that does all the CAD and stuff for them. All three, okay. Noticing I can thread these in all the way, which tells me that I probably got a little bit of over extrusion on my 2.4 on these prints. And we need to use my reamer and ream the parts a little bit. Yeah, it's just a little off center. It looks like I can get it with these. And so right now, Turtle, all of my parts are, for all of my, I'll say lower parts here, are in this Galaxy Dark Gray ABS by Polymaker. Got a little bit of sparkle to it. I'm thinking about reprinting the middle pieces in the fluorescent blue, which is this color, so they stand out. So, and then just doing the single layer swap on them to do the gray for the logo. Yeah, the Galaxy Dark Gray is a pretty darn nice color. Yeah. All right, guys. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's all good. The screws are tightening up in the holes before they tighten up on the actual T-nut. So I'm going to have to grab the reamer and ream out these holes a bit. Not that big of a deal. So the skirt parts that I'm putting on, Turtle, were printed on the, we're on 2.4 right here that we just finished building. So probably still have a little bit of over extrusion going on with it, but considering we just commissioned that printer on Tuesday with a little bit of initial tuning, not a lot. I'll say these are coming out pretty darn nice. Yeah. I like I said, I normally stream Tuesday nights and Saturday mornings, but I decided I was going to stream some more because one, my spouse isn't here right now. She'll be coming back on Wednesday, and that gives me the ability to stream a little bit more while she's not here. And I agreed to have this build done in time for Murph as well as that 2.4 build. So I'm feeling kind of under the gun to get a couple of these in progress and built, so that I can get a little bit of breathing room, because I also want to build a killdozer and a top fuel dragster. Hey, MBN22, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the follow. I'm doing this by hand. I could probably make it a little bit faster with a drill, but it goes pretty well by hand, and you stand on less of a chance of jacking something up. Hey, Dutch dude, what's up? And as I say that, I think I am just going to grab the tool. Yeah, Dutch, I don't know what this is. Have you seen it before? You might know something about it. Yeah, I'm just running the reamer through these holes because when I went to tighten the bolts up, they tightened in the screw holes up against the printed part before they tightened on the T-nuts. So I'm just using a reamer, not a drill, because the reamer will keep the hole round instead of ovaling it out. And you stand a less chance of damaging the part, especially if it's, I'll say, a pocketed hole versus a through hole. You guys, let me know if this is too loud. Other ones have been good so far. So that over there. We do a tiny bit of cleanup here real fast. Almost got myself. All right, now where were we? That's where we were. We were putting some parts on here. What's going on, Dutch? How's the Goliath installed? Looked like you had it all installed, but is it running and pushing plastic, or are you still working through all that? Okay, you got it running now. Nice. Hey, Ian Douglas, how are you doing? Nice. So you can see over this shoulder, my left shoulder. Right over here is the 2.4 we just finished on Tuesday. And on Tuesday, we were doing some extrusion multiplier test. Really just kind of messing around. And then I decided, okay, well, let's push some real plastic. And I sliced up a cinder wing 3D cyborg snake and printed that out in printed solid Jesse PLA mystery orange, and it looked like it was doing good, so I walked away and it printed overnight, which I would probably not suggest doing that on a brand new printer, but yeah. Then the next day I got up and I was like, okay, well, I need a few more parts reprinted for this build, because when I started looking at the parts, I realized, oh, I've got a couple that aren't the latest and greatest, so I needed to reprint them. And I decided to start at the bottom and work my way up, because I was waiting on a couple of other parts for the XY gantry system, which did come in today, but I couldn't count on them. So it's always good to have a good foundation to improve. Last thing you want is an edge on a piece of extrusion scratching up your table or something. For the most part, these rolling T-nuts work really, really well on these Mitsumi frames. Except when the spring gets caught on a blind nut clip. For whatever reason, handful of Yeah, so this build, like I said, this is my second ZeroG build. I really like it. It's a pretty nice build. Um, going with I'll say a fresh built frame versus a reality frame. Very good idea. Turtle and Dutch Dude definitely is a better foundational starting point. Engaged. Sweet. More panel profiles would be good. So that one's like and I can't remember Turtle on the skirt file. Did it have the whatchamacallit? Did it have the DXF for the actual panels? In there, I should be able to cut my own deck panel. You need to make a new DXF for the bottom panel. Okay, sweet. Yeah. Plus, I didn't have the CNC ability to do those panels myself, so I had to use like send cut send. I should be able to do these panels myself. Three of the panels need to be laser cut. So the bottom panel, the bottom deck panel, the bottom electronics cover, and the front door. Okay. I'm not sure if you guys were on here before, but right now everything's printed in gray. But my thought is using the, oh, that's not going to work. That's not going to work either. My thought is to use this fluorescent blue here as an accent color and do the centerpieces in that fluorescent blue with the layer change to get the Z to pop. And then I'm still debating whether I wanted to redo the feet or if the centerpiece being that fluorescent blue will be enough to kind of make it really stand out and pop. I figure I'll reprint the centerpieces and get those swapped out for Saturday's stream. And then that way I'll have a better, something more I can show you guys as far as what the color will look like. And then be able to say, okay, should we redo the feet in the fluorescent blue or not? And right now, all four of my feet are the same. Because I think I'm just going to use the standard switch in the back left like I did on my original ZeroG, rather than run mains up towards the front corner. it back. Maybe I do need, there we go. Yeah, and my thought was is not having it up front, especially if this is going to Murph and there's going to be kids and stuff. Um, any chance that people have to mess with printers, they typically do. Just ask Scott how many times somebody kept bumping the Lynx belt printer, and every time somebody did it, the controller would reset because they'd hit the cover on the controller board. Yeah, yeah. It I mean, I fidget with it occasionally, but that's my own problem because I cut my nails. It's hard to get it in the groove. But being a Mitsumi frame and using the T-nuts, they work very, very well. I like them a lot better than um, um, hammerhead nuts. Huh, that's weird. Because you got to kind of push it in and then lift it just shade up to get that face to catch. Hey, KB3D Chris, how are you doing today? Got to say thank you to KB3D Chris. He has provided a plethora of stuff to support this build. And all of the linear rails and the motion system, uh, the XY motion system was there. Oh, and thanks for the subscribe too. I appreciate that. Okay, so I figure I'd get started on the build tonight, and I'm going to start kind of at the bottom and work my way up. Why? I guess from building the Voron, where I started with the Z rails, and then immediately went to the gantry, and they wanted you to put like the bed on first as well. It's like, that's a lot of weight. So like I'll start working from the bottom up. So I'll do the Z-axis tonight with the Hydra, but that will also, I won't put the bed on just yet because I want to kind of not have to deal with that weight if I don't have to while I'm moving things around. But then again, you really don't need to flip this one as much as you tend to flip a boron build. Two point four, I felt like I was flipping it a lot. So how's your day going today, Chris? We'll keep playing the sim where I keep dropping peanuts or screws to.
Do the electronics live underneath on the Mercury?
Oof. Dude, I hope you get feeling better soon. Hope you get feeling better soon. Oh, wow, thanks for the 3-month resub. Using your Prime. Appreciate that. Oh, God, yes. Trust me, I remember my kids and the whole school thing. I mean, it's nothing but a big, huge petri dish. For some reason, that was not lining up. Exactly. Exactly. All right, so I'm having. Yep, so I'm having a slight alignment issue where I didn't get the centerpiece in tight enough, so I was actually catching the lip edge of the um, screw. Hey Scott, how are you doing? I know it's a funny looking board. Please tell me that the screen says that this is a ZeroG build. That the title for the stream is a ZeroG build. Because I didn't change that. And if it didn't change, I'm going to get annoyed. Okay, it does good. Got me worried there, Scott. You got me worried. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for keeping me on my toes. Realize I probably just shoved my partially bald head in front of everybody there. Yeah, Scott. So the Boron 2.4 build is done. It's behind me, singing away. It actually printed some of the parts I'm installing right now. Go gander. Yeah, it's been singing all day yesterday and all day today, kicking out parts. So apparently I did pretty good on it, and I didn't really have to tune it too much. I think I'm getting just a smidge of over extrusion, but that's easy enough to work on. Still only have a V0. Yeah, the V0 is great. It does an awesome job. I love my little V0. It's been a workhorse. And my Ender 3 over there has been doing all the bigger ABS parts until I got the 2.4, and then I've been working ABS in it. Oh yeah, I can imagine, Scott. Like every time you turn around, another Mercury 1 gets built and comes to life. So you didn't like that one? I got you. I got you. It's a different one. Well, that was good. This is what happens when you don't pay attention and plan ahead. Dutch and Turtle let me do it. So the one with the switch goes in the back left, so. Hey, Forever Night, how are you doing today? Everything finds you well? Just been going on a little journey of putting our skirts on our new ZeroG build here. 2.4 has been humming along behind me. And I need to put some feet on it. Uh-oh. I'm gonna grab M5 nuts from the other drawer. Feet. And use button head screws for this one. This is a what is it? 275 by 275 build plate. It's just tall, so it's going to be narrow and tall. You know, and obviously not tens. Three is on these guys. 16s. Putting the feet on. I guess we'll go with 14s because we have 14s right here. That should work. No. Let's go with 20s. Good. So what we need to do is go with an M20. It's going to be too long, but I've got 14s. I probably have 16s around here somewhere. There's a spot for an M5 nut to fit into the bottom of the foot, and then you're just going to go ahead and tighten these up, get them nice and tight. Super simple, super easy. See how Forrest coming along? Awesome. He showed me pictures earlier. So on that build, overnight, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I saw that you had the frame and the bed mounts in place. Have you made any more progress on it beyond that? What size were you building? Pretty as you go. Gotcha. Okay, you're doing the 350. Yeah, the LVO kit has a lot of cool things in it. The only thing that's kind of stinks about it is it feels like you have to keep jumping back and forth between the manuals to get everything done and lined up and everything. Okay, so we've got a printer with skirts and feet. Yay! Put the M5 away. We'll need to grab the M3s. We do a little bit of rearranging. Grab something to drink. Yeah, there's a lot of conversations about boron that go on in the community. But I've really liked some of the builds I've done lately, which is, like the Rook and the Bugaboo, because they're different. They're small printers. They're different. They kind of go with the same concepts of Core XY, which seems to be the latest and greatest, along with belt printers now. But but I like some of the smaller builds that I've done. They've been neat little builds. They're fully functional, and they help get people into kit building and modding, right? Just sent me a DM of your first printer build. Awesome. So what we're going to do, since we're going to start with the Hydra, is I'll go ahead and switch the view and bring the menu. And we're going to, the manual. So this is the online manual. They're working on getting a printed manual for all the parts. But for right now, what we've got is the online manual. They'll have an introduction section for each piece. You'll have the Mercury one. Like I said, this mod, and one of the things I really like about this mod is it gives you the ability to go in phases, right? So like just taking an Ender 5 platform and doing a Mercury mod to it, you replace the top portion of the system and get rid of the V wheels and go to linear rails and a Core XY motion system. And when you do that, it enables you to get that first phase and a little bit better printing. Some people have issues with their beds on the cantilever design of the 5 or the 5 Pro. The 5 Plus has a lot bigger bed, but it's got a sturdier bed because of the dual Z on it. So there really wasn't a need for me to go to Hydra, but I did. But once again, the nice thing is you can go and do that Core XY mod on it and get the benefits of going to linear motion systems or linear rail motion system in Core XY belting without too much outlet. 3 rails, some printed parts, some D shafts, some bearings. I think the kit is like I want to say $139 from Fabrico, and there's other manufacturers I believe that are starting to put kits together. You can also find them on AliExpress, or you can self-source it based on what you currently have. Nothing says that you have to go and get the Fabrico kit and get the ZeroG motors. Ender motors work just fine. Stepper online motors work just fine. You go and get LDO motors. You get whatever motors you have or you want to get. You can make your own build. But the nice thing about doing that, you don't have to change any of the other electronics. You don't have to change the main board because you haven't added any more motors yet. All you have to do is reflash the firmware on your motherboard, either with Marlin or Clipper, and you're up and running again with a better motion system. When you go to Hydra, then you also have to upgrade your electronics because you're going to add a motor, and the stock Creality boards and the SKR Mini E3V3 that a lot of people will replace the stock boards with won't support the extra motor. So if you Clipperize it, you can just add a secondary board and then run 2 MCUs, but now you're adding complexity and more wiring, more things to go wrong. So exactly, if you're comfortable using CAD, you can create everything. Yep. Okay, so with the build here, it does come in, tells you moderate to experienced. Really what you're doing here on the bed is it's a lot of heat set inserts, which if you've built any type of printer lately, you probably use some heat set inserts. And we started off doing all the heat set inserts, but this is a triple lead screw system, 3 independent lead screws with arms that'll have independent, or not, but they'll have linear rails on them that will allow your bed to kind of get a little kittywampus, but then ride itself out with a plane. So it does talk about the bill of materials. So once again, you can go and self-source everything you need. If you say your top half was running good, but you were having problems getting everything level, okay, well maybe you want to start with Hydra. Just know, once again, if you do Hydra first, you're still going to have to get the some type of expansion board or a new controller altogether that will let you do 6 motors. It does tell you everything you need here. They do have a really neat configurator. So you can come through here. It does have the step files available now that you can pull down the step files. And you can either pull down all the STLs yourself via GitHub, or you can come through on the configurator, pick which size magnets you have, which size mini tanks. So do you have MGN 9C or 9H rails? Whether you want zip tie mounts, Wago mounts, etc., and then it'll dump all the files to you in one big zip file. We have drawings for the heated bed. So if you want to manufacture your own heated bed, or in the case that nobody has heated beds in stock, you can send it out and have one fabbed at your local metal supply. Right? So that's very nice too. And then we get in here finally to the assembly. And it'll tell us we're going to need some M3x8s, some M3x10s, heat set inserts, which we've already done, some console balls, some countersunk magnets the console balls will ride in, and our little MGN 9C rail. And then, of course, our left motor mount. This one is the left. We've already put in all of our heat set inserts. Heat set inserts, which we did. And now we're going to mount our rail. My folks over at KB3D provided the rails. And the MGN 9Cs, they do not stock this size, not to say natively, but as a standard item. But they did cut these for me specifically for this build. So I believe that is something that they could do upon request. Or if this gains popularity, then they may start stocking more and more things like this. And Chris, real fast, did these come pre-lubed or not? If you're still with me. Look like they are. Is there something? A little bit careful and cognizant on these because they didn't have bump stops in them. Guess I can take a check. I'm just going to slide this off some. Oh yeah, these are pretty. All of them are that way, but these are. So for these, we're going to start off with our M3x8s. Apparently everything up top is going to go with silver screws. So these should line up just perfectly if they were cut accordingly. And all I'm going to do is put in the screws and start to tighten them down, but where I can still move the carriage, because you'll want to tighten them down from the center out. We do that with all of our all of the linear rails we do, because that keeps them from bowing or getting a bow to them. I'm going to tighten them just enough that the carriage can slide over it so I can get the centermost one in here. And these rails are going to self-align. Right? So you're not going to see me do any type of alignment block or jig because they're going to self-align based on the set screws that we have. I guess I should be switching view. Sorry about that. Okay, so I just loosely got all 5 in. There may still be a little bit wiggle, but I just want to be able to move the carriage back and forth because I'm going to start in the middle and then work my way out from the middle to tighten these down. Hey, Tactile 3D Picture, how are you today? I'm not going to ugga dugga them. I'm just going to get them to where the heads are just hitting and tightening up. Then once I get all 5 done, come back and tighten them the rest of the way. Okay, so one rail done, and like I said, these printed parts will act as bump stops, and they're going to catch just enough of the carriage to keep it from sliding off. But I will tell you this: if your bed gets extremely cattywampus, it will come off. It will break that little tab, and your bed, your carriage can come off your rail. So it's going to be put on there, and all the holes just kind of line up. So we'll get our 3x8 screws going. And just tightening these up, they're going to start, like I said, self-aligning the rail between the printed part. There's a little printed, there's a printed channel there basically that helps to align this part. Just going to go until the heads are just snug. And I'll come back and apply a little bit of ugga-dugga to it. Working my way from the center to the edge. Motion. I'm going to do that for this one. Basically, what our manual is doing is telling us to go through exactly what I just said. I'm going to do all 3 rails and then come back and do all 3 trucks. To me, it's just easier to kind of do everything in a kind of a parallel fashion rather than a serial fashion. Okay, so we now have all three of our rails completed. Or at least the linear rails are assembled onto the arms. Now we're going to start working on our mini tanks. Okay. And it wants us to put the heat set inserts in to the little cannon portion, which we already did. So get all three of those done. We use our M3/8s again, the console ball, and the magnets. Now, I will tell you, I kind of do it a little bit different. It says to set the magnet down, then put the ball in the magnet, and then set the plastic part over the top of it. And I have found when I was doing my other ZeroG build that kind of had to fidget and fiddle with it sometimes. So buy magnets from AliExpress. I suggest you look at them because I just looked and some of these are dinged up. So make sure that you don't have any dinged up faces on yours. Got the best magnets you got. M4s, right? I think the console balls are M4s. We'll run into it when we need to. I guess I could easily take it in. Yep, they're going to be M4. Try to do is put it in for it to make sure that it sits straight up and down. But just kind of work it with a finger. So I make sure that the console ball appears to be centered in the part. And then I will set it in the truck so that it sits flat. It should sit flat. If it doesn't sit flat like that, then you printed the wrong trucks or the mini tanks for the parts that you got. So there are mini tank sizes for 12x3, 12x4, and 12.55 magnets. So I'm using 12x5, so I use the 12x5 trucks. And your magnet should be flat, just like that. If it's not, then once again, you've got the wrong one. The tank is going to shoot out the pointy end of your rail. Okay? So now I'm going to take my rail and set it down, and I'm going to slide this right across the top of the rail, and I'm going to get my 4 holes lined up. Now I can go ahead and put my M3x8 screws in. two. Aye. Because what it does is that magnet will kind of pull it off center just a tiny bit. And so I found by kind of putting it in the truck and then putting the truck on it, it seemed to help line things up a little easier, at least for me. Your mileage may vary. Just like anything, we're setting these in, not tightening them down yet. We're just going to get them nice and snug all the way around. And then we're going to tighten in a crossing pattern because we don't want to bind our little tank here. Okay, still good. Do that same pattern for the next two. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to get the threaded hole in the top of ball, just relatively pointing center up. Drop it in my mini tank, and then go ahead and put it on the next one. Get it lined up and put in your screws. Say, oh, I'm going to do this because it's easier. And then twice now it's moved ever so slightly out of alignment on the pole. Because these magnets, I think these magnets are actually a little bit stronger than the ones I got in my kit. Close, down. Some pattern. And we still have to two down, one more to go. Yeah, I don't have any experience with like a BZBot or like actually, I'm pretty sure the Annex, if I remember right, they don't really have a lot of documentation on theirs either. It's pretty much built by the um, CAD file, but that might have changed. But yeah, it's the Vorons have a pretty good documentation set. ZeroG is definitely getting there with their documentation. They've done a lot of good work on it lately. Hey, Timor, how are you doing, my friend? They've been doing a lot of good work on the documentation and getting that squared away and updated. So it's real good. Still got real good movement there. Yeah, and this prevents the castle ball from spinning when installing and uninstalling the bed. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a single M3x8 nut, or excuse me, bolt. It's going to go in to the tank barrel, and all it's there to do is to keep the nut itself from spinning. So you're just going to snug it up onto the fossil ball. You don't want to like crank down on it where you would potentially damage the ball. That's it. I'm sorry, M3x10, not 8. I was like, wow, that didn't do anything. You published the pendant Critrix. Nice. So let's try this again with an M3x10. We're just going to bring it right in until you feel it hit the muscle ball. You're done. Like I said, you don't want to crank it into the castle ball and deform it. You just want it to snug up against it to keep it from rotating around later on when we go to install the bed. And then what you can do is you can either just loosen them off once you get your bed installed, or you can take these completely out. It's up to you. If you ever need to do maintenance on the bed, what you'd want to do is tighten these screws back in, and that way the balls don't start moving around as you start to try and take the bed off. Right? And say do the left arm, do the right arm, do the rear arm, and then that's sort of where the instructions end. Is it'll walk you through the same set of steps for the left, right, and rear. So these are really well documented. Um, like I said, they're still just fleshing these out and bringing them up to the next level. But they're fairly intuitive. We catch up on a little bit of chat here. Forever Night was distracted by work. I hate when that happens. Yeah. I believe I said hey to Timor when he came in. Thank you for publishing the pennant, Creatix Brit. It's on your printables. Okay. Okay. I don't believe so. I don't believe I'm blocking anybody. So you should be able to drop your link in here, Creatix Brit. Oh, thanks, Ash. Thanks, Ash. Just out and about working. Okay. Well, thank you for popping in and listening while you're out and about working. Yeah. Give me 1 second, please. I have a printer that's about out of food. I knew that was going to happen while I was on screen. Apologize for putting my back to you guys. In my chamber too. Sorry about that. Printer was about out of food. Printer issues at work. Well, at least it was printer stuff. Okay, so where are we at? We've got our 3 trucks built. That's where the instructions kind of ended for that section. So I'm going to switch our scene back here. You can see me again. Just realizing. Start sucking it in again. It's over there. We'll put these back there. Well, actually, we'll need go ahead and set our linear rails first. Jumping those back out in a second, but okay. So we will start with our front linear rails. For lower linear rails are going to be 400 millimeter length. And once again, these are KB3D rails. And they are not lubricated, so put this back down on the ground real fast because we're going to have to set up and do a loop stream again. Now, I know I'm kind of a scary guy when it comes to lubing the rails because I've fallen partially off the rail. They've got grease zerks. You can use the grease zerks, but if KB3D is on here, he can tell me whether or not the grease ports on these are actually functional. I find a lot of times they are not. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing just past the ball, and I'm actually shooting into the back half of these. Working to get some grease in those tracks. Excuse me, in this case, EP2, Mobilux EP2. Probably should put my gloves on. I'm going to push any of the excess that comes forward down into the ball tracks. I'm just going to slowly move it forward, making sure I don't lose any balls. Got a little bit of excess that comes off. Move it around. Distribute it, and then do it again. Part way off. Try and shoot some additional EP2 in there. If you do this slowly, I very rarely lose or have a ball come out. And if it does, once again, you're going very slowly. You start to see it come out, you just push it back down in the track with your finger. Or if it pops out all the way because you hit a spot where it just kind of jumps a little bit, then you can just use a pair of tweezers and reset that ball behind the little fence guard. And all you're just doing is trying to get grease packed in there with the balls. Nice now. Just go ahead and set that one aside and open the next one. So what kind of printer issues were you having at work forever night? Oh, and I think as a hobby, we made it the big time because I don't want to get into politics, but in in Biden's speech today when he was announcing the new chairman of, or his nominee for the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, he actually mentioned 3D printing. Really should have put a glove. Ah, I got you. So you're talking about standard like laser printers, inkjet printers. But yeah, I get you. Driver updates and group policies and that stuff is always a pain in the butt. And I'm kind of glad I don't have to deal with that stuff anymore. Different stage of my career now. My brother still talks about it all the time. Hey, West Rewind, you're back. I'm just over here living my rails up. Should have put on a glove, but I didn't. So now I'm gonna making a mess everywhere. I do know if you get the ZeroG kit from Fabrico and you get the Honey Badger rails, that they do come. Like I said, the smaller rails here came pre-lubed as well. I just if these had lubricant in them, it's not very much. But no biggie. That's why I asked for some more. Like I said, I know a lot of people will tell you not to do what I'm doing right now, but this is how I feel comfortable doing it. And I just go slow and take my time. So I've never had an issue. I've never, like one of these days, I'm pretty sure I'm going to sling a carriage across the room, but not today. Not today. And then I'm just pushing some more of this EP2 grease right down into the bearings in their channel. So I tried to use the needle and inject some of it in there at first, and then once it starts coming out the sides, Then I'll work on getting it put in to the front half of the bearing. Like I said, it's just takes time, go slow. See a ball start to pop out. One, don't panic because you should have a lot of grease in there and it's going to keep that ball from just going flying around. And then I try and wipe off any of the excess off the rail itself and trucks, just because if not, then you will be touching it and constantly smearing it around. But down in these grooves, you want to, I mean, that's where the balls are running. So there will be grease that gets down in there. You want to leave that there. The what I will do a little bit later on is I will take a couple of drops of a PTFE based lubricant, and I will just put a couple of drops on the rail and then wipe the rail down. And all that's doing is just providing a thin layer of oil to the rails to keep them from, you know, any type of rust or corrosion. Okay, so we've got 3 rails prepped and ready to go. We're going to go ahead and bring our chassis back up here. This out of the way. What's everybody working on this evening? Anything exciting? So on your rails, on a normal Ender 5, you'll have a 40 or a 2040 rail. This is a 2040 rail with a 2020 on the side of it. So, but we're still going to look at, this is the main printer right here. And that rail is going to go on the inside leg. And so you'll need your 2040 guides. Your standard guide rails for your 2040, 4020, what have you, in order to get these lined up. I try and do one down at the bottom, and then one at the top. And that should lock that rail in place. And I guess it would have helped first if I actually put in my T-nuts. Didn't need that many. we'll put these in place, and then we'll go through and line them up before we put our rail back on there. Because I have them here, I'm just going to go ahead and put 8 more in on this side. Anybody made a rail greaser, slide block off rail onto a 3D printer rail with lube holes? Not that I'm aware of, Timor. Yeah, you would think. I mean, that would be something that would be really cool. So now I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and line up my rail holes with the T-nuts. Get them roughly there, and I can fine tune them with the rail on there. Just sit up there. Oh, my OCD is going to get tried here. We're going in every other hole, starting from the bottom. And there's a little bit of place, so what I'm going to do is push the rail kind of to the side. So it will, I'll say, self-align once it bites into the T-nuts, because the T-nuts are self-aligned to the channel. That's the other nice thing about using T-nuts versus hammerheads. It may be a pain in the butt to get in, but the face of that T-nut locks in that channel of the rolling T-nut, whereas a hammerhead nut doesn't do that. That one. Okay, and now I've got them all kind of biting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up right with the top of the extrusion because these extrusions are the same size. And I'm going to start from middle and work my way out. Just going to snug them up to the face. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that would be a great thing. I think I've seen some printed parts for, you can print a quote unquote carriage rail that you can offload the carriage onto the rail, but I haven't seen one with like built-in ports to it. You could then eject, kind of like you do with the linear rod bearings, right? First, it has that tool that you can use that has the groove on the bearing. So you slip the linear bearings over it and then squeeze the tube and it'll eject the bearing races. All right, just like that, one rail is on. And our carriage still moves. So now we'll come over here and work on this side. Sorry. Just going to lay the rail down right up against the end. And that'll let me line up my T-nuts. Let's get it as best as possible. Okay. This up on the rail. Put our rail alignment tools on. And drop in our screws. So this is a custom cut frame. It was cut to length by Mitsumi. And then, because I didn't have the full cut sheet at the time, so I didn't know where the blind nuts went, and which meant where I needed to tap and drill holes. So I went ahead and ordered the extrusions, and then got the cut sheets a few days later, and that allowed me to go ahead and measure, use a set or a punch to set the holes, and then drill for the blind joints. And then it was a matter of logically putting it together and taking it apart once or twice in the process. Because at this point, there's just a CAD drawing. I cannot give anything more than that unless Turtle and Dutch authorize me to. I'm not sure if they're still with us or not because at least Dutch is actually in the Netherlands. So, but yes, this is a custom frame that is basically it's an Ender 5, slightly different. Well, the end result is an Ender 5 size frame, right? That's got it's an Ender 5 size frame that is fully built up with blind joints versus the I'll say the bolt through method that they use. Um, and at some point there will be a release. Like I said, it's up to the ZeroG team when it's time. That would be Dutch Dude and Turtle Crawler. But they have allowed me to build this on stream, but I can't talk about actual dimensions or like where the blind joints are at and stuff like that. I mean, some of those would be somewhat self-explanatory, but it will all come out in due time. Okay, so we got 2 down and we got 1 more to do. Scoot these over here. The third one goes on this back rail. Now on a standard Ender 5, when you get the Hydra kit, you will get this back rail as part of the kit, wherever you get the kit from. Same thing with the new gantry. So on the standard Ender 5, the gantry has to be wider than the printer because it rides on wheeled trucks. So those trucks have to be able to mount to it. So rather than have you try and cut that to a specific length, most of the kits will come with the right size gantry already pre-cut for you. We're going to put 8 more of these in. Side conversation. What's this about boron? People with borons will have to stop. Tech will need to catch up. Well, I think that's the dilemma that anybody has in this industry is, does the tech exist? And if it doesn't, then somebody's got to make it. And the question is whether it's in your best interest to custom make bespoke parts for your particular business need or interest, or collaborate with somebody, because like uh, things like the E3D Revo belt printer nozzle, right? I'm pretty sure that there was a collaboration there to get that done. But it was we want to use the Revo system, but we can't because there's no Revo nozzles that will function with a 45-degree. So somebody that uses those printers for production reasons, like Pooch, aka Retcord, he could go out and spend his own dime to try and make one himself. But then again, he's not going to have the resources and the proper tooling to do it and do it effectively, where E3D probably does. So that's where it's in his best interest to work with E3D to get something like that to market that meets his need. It may also help out others. But that's the same in any market is, do I build it, do I buy it, or do I collaborate on it? Right? So for these, we're going to need our 2020 spacers. And I reuse these from different printers to different printers. Like, you use the same type of spacers on a Trident that you use for a 2.4. So it's not like I'm going to reprint, the same part when I go to do the Trident. I'm just going to use the ones from the 2.4. Okay, what point were you getting to on light? Because I know I jumped in there right in the middle and I probably didn't see the whole conversation that's been going on. Well, yeah, and there you go. So it's really it's a technology thing, right? So there, a lot of places are more evolutionary, and the technology leaps that we're seeing aren't necessarily in the hardware. I mean, we've been making linear motion systems for years. We're just using them for a different reason now. Right? But also, if you look at Teaching Tech had a good video that just came out about where 3D printing was 10 years ago. And they were actually having to make and manufacture their own hot ends for the printers that they were using. So think about that. We've come from making your own hot end and having to wrap a specific type of wire to be able to get the appropriate amperage for heat and stuff like that. To I go on Amazon and I can buy one of 40 different designs, right? But at some point, it's going to be like, okay, now we're progressing to where things like Peak and Ultim or different process models come out of the industry and come down to the consumer level. Is that sometime all development will hit a point where it hits what it's called point of no return, meaning that they did all they can do and can't go no more. Look how long it took 3D printers to come around for consumer use. We'll come to a point where boron will hit the point of no return before they stop and let the tech catch up. Well, that, or they could be looking and being part of the new tech that comes out, or they could be so they can be part of the process of new tech coming to the market, or it's like I said, it's new tech will come to the market and they're going to have to figure out how to integrate it into their system before other people do. Because whoever gets there first, starts to set the rules, and we're going to hit a point where we've already got like Boron and BZBot and Annex Engineering. A lot of these companies, they're designing, but they're not building, right? And at some point, they may have to build to get to that next level. But right now, things like Pantheon, right, and the second Ghost stuff, right? It's gorgeous kit, but it's expensive, and we're not there yet where it's at a price point that we can use, and we're not there yet that we could technically make use of the capabilities that those things would bring to us, right? Yes, it's always going to be in the business first, but yeah, I don't think there's a point of no return. There's a point of where there's commercial viability and enough interest that demand that now it makes sense to generate the supply, right? And I was getting ready to stick that on. Before I do, I want to put the palm T-nuts in here before I stick these on. Gonna do it. All right, sorry, Mom. Like we finished the whole conversation. Now we're just talking about Elon. We moved into like Tesla's. Hey, Printed Visions, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Now that you're out of hands, yeah. So what I'm getting ready to do is throw on our palm nuts. Make sure you get the right ones. Your kit may or may not come with the right ones. And when you put these heat set inserts, you might get a little bit of nubs there that you have to clean off before these go in easily. But the yeah, I mean it's like anything else. There's got to be commercial viability for new things to come to market. And I never said how much I really hate how the things kind of melt the palm. Well, your heat set inserts kind of melt little divots out the side that interfere with your palm nuts going in. Just realized I'm probably blowing right into the mic, so sorry about that. I have to go back to our readers. That's right. Yeah, and that's one of the things. I mean, I get where Bamboo is going on closed sourcing their stuff, but at the same time, I also think they may have shot themselves in the foot industry wise. Is even though they're bringing some innovation in, they also took something that was open source and then closed sourced it, which alienates part of the community, right? Whether they were trying to or not. This is where I have to be very careful. Don't need to go all the way down, just a little bit to clear those nubs from when I melted the plastic. Walnut should then be able to go in. And you'll notice with this palm nut, all four of those holes line up. You get the palm nuts that are the like slit style palm nuts, the holes will not line up no matter which way you rotate. You need to get the one that has the four holes in it, the full round flange. You don't have to put all four screws in. You can still just use two screws, but you have to get a palm nut, or if you're using the standard brass screws, that's fine too. It's up to you. But it has to be the full flange, otherwise the holes won't line up. Ask me how I know. So that one done. And I'm not sure if we can get this to show up on the camera, but you may see what I mean on this one right here. Now there's a little, so there's a little nub right there. You can see it right there. And so that's going to foul it from letting the pieces come in, or the palm nut go in. So it's going to use the reamer and clean up that hole just a little bit. I'm going to have to vacuum. Just throwing the stuff on. Mrs. Dragon isn't it? She will yell. Holy crap. Yeah, so open source projects is advancing the tech and it's helping to keep prices down in the long run, but it's shooting itself in the foot on cost. It was based and founded on open source products. We would not be here where we are now if not for open free source 3D printers. Projects. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're based on open source projects, and like this printer, like I said, this is not a closed source design. This is open source. It is just not released yet because they're trying to make sure that all the files and everything are correct and to the best of their ability before they send it out. Because once again, they're not a company. They're a group of people in the community that are coming up with the design, and some companies will build kits based on said design that may or may not adhere strictly to it or not, or they may make their own little things like the kits from Fabrico. They're slightly different. You know, they're not a standard generic Rook spec that you would get on um, like just going to Rolahan's printable site and downloading it. But I think they've added good value in the choices that they've made for that kit, and it still keeps within the I'll say the range of the price point that Rolahan was going for, right? So you know you come up with the design, and the other thing is some people like to design, some people like to print, some people like to build, some people like to sell and make money. But in order to sell and make money, you've got to put a lot of time and effort into it. Well, yeah, and I think like the Bamboo Labs, right? There's a couple of things that sort of irk me about it. Number one is you're a fully funded seed company, right? But yet you went and did uh, a Kickstarter campaign rather than doing something like pre-orders. They did Kickstarter, and then before the Kickstarter is even done, they're showing um, like stores and stocks of frames that are already built. And it's like, well, if you've got the capital to build welded steel frames, why are you on Kickstarter? Right? Why are you on Kickstarter? Um, Now something like um, say Boron or um, ZeroG, if they wanted to release a printer and they were doing it via Kickstarter, I'd fully expect it because there's a lot of R&D that goes into bringing a good kit. It's not just okay, we designed a spec, but you'll find out along the way, um, you know, what manufacturing issues do we run into? What things do we need to solve from a manufacturing standpoint, be able to ramp up costs, and that's what Joseph Prusa and crew deal right? Everybody's like, oh my God, the XL's been in development for years, blah blah blah. They got beat up like mad for the XL, and then when they released the Mark IV with no like nobody knew it was coming, right? And everybody's like, well, why didn't they tell people? Because you literally beat them up over the XL, still not shipping yet, and they were trying to keep everybody informed, right? So it comes time where they're like, okay, we don't want to let the cat out of the bag because then people start clamoring and asking for stuff, right? But they also all their stuff is open sourced and it's a full company featured product, meaning um, there's support channels, there's um, parts. Like when they release the printer, they've got spare parts already, right? They've got spare parts already for various parts of it, right? So if anything goes wrong, or if you need spares from day one, you've got that pipeline already built in. Where some smaller companies. That's why I said I think Kickstarter has its place, but I think there's a lot of people using Kickstarter as a pre-order system versus what I think it's really there for. And I'm sitting here talking, guys, and we're getting ready to run into a snag. I just installed the rear carriage, but the snag we're getting ready to run into is I literally have 5 M3x8 screws left. So just like I did that one, we're going to switch this around so you guys can see. I'm going to line it up. And this is I don't know, this has been a pretty decent press fit for me getting these on here. I don't know if the tolerances are really good or maybe my print tolerances aren't as sweet, but yeah, rut row. I probably got some kicking around somewhere. But like on these, you really need to use the socketed screws. You can't use button head screws on these. And I didn't ask for fasteners on this kit because, well, I figured I had enough. I just figured wrong. Now, on these front trucks, you're only using 3 screws. Because the 4th one, they would have to drill a hole through the lead screw area for you to be able to screw it in. It doesn't make sense to do that. So I have 2 out of 3 for this one. That's okay. That's what Amazon's for. I'll have some here in a couple days. Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it. I get it. All right. So we've got our 3 bed trucks on. I'm not going to install the bed just yet because it does get a little heavy. Sad day. It does get a little heavy. Gone for a few hours. We will have a Wagyu connector that will go on the side here. And this will allow for, once again, for us to have our, I'll say basically quick disconnect for the bed. So you'll be able to just pop the wires off the bed, undo or tighten in your 3x10 screws so that it doesn't go anywhere. Unscrew your bed and lift your bed right in and out. And it makes life so much easier for maintenance and stuff like that. I do need to fix a couple of the tops here because for whatever reason they're not lined up. I will do that off stream, as well as getting some more M3x8 screws. But I think we are at a stopping point for the night, folks. When we get back, on Saturday. So we'll start working the Mercury part or the gantry part and getting that squared away and installed, which means we'll have belts and we'll have to install the motors and the lead screws as well on the Hydra. So yeah, we made good progress. I have incorporated lessons learned from prior builds, especially regarding the using the full flange palm or I guess lead screw nut, whether you use palm or regular. Because if you don't, you will have alignment issues, and it may lead to a lot of print artifacts in your prints, which I don't think any of us want. And I will tell you, Dutch and Turtle, just doing that, because with my initial kit that I got from Fabrico, it had the it had the like just the two screw flange on the palm nut, and I had to drill some holes to actually make them line up with the heat set inserts. And I think that might have been what was causing some of my banding issues, because as soon as I got rid of those and went over to the standard palm nuts that I just installed on this one, that and mildly working and tweaking the one linear screw or lead screw that was bent. Between those two things, a lot of my Z-banding issues have gone away. Show you on my Bando helmet, but it's downstairs. Yeah, this one's going fairly well. If Turtle can get me the DXF files, no rush, Turtle. I'm just saying, when Turtle gets me the DXF files, say I can get some panels cut to the right size. I did order some 1/8" acrylic sheet that I will cut for the sides and the top myself, because that's just on the table saw. I should be able to cut the bottom plates on my CNC, and if I can't, then I either need to make a trip up to my brother's where he's got a larger one, or reach out to somebody who may be on here right now who has offered some potential other services. But yeah. Yeah. Getting the right palm nuts, really well. I keep saying palm nuts. Getting the right nuts for your lead screw, yeah, as if needed. Um, you know, everything about a 3D printer is a set of different systems, right? Whether you're using a belted Z, a lead screw, a ball screw, each one of those is a system. It's only as good as all the parts that make up the system, right? You've got the motor, you've got the coupler from the motor to the lead screw. You have an integrated lead screw, that's one less thing that's in the mix. But you still have, is the lead screw dead straight? If it's coated with palm, how good was the coating, right? Is it too spec or not? Then you have your nuts, and even with palm nuts, they're going to wear. So over time, those are maintenance items that you may have to change out occasionally, right? Hey, Chewy, how's it going? You have to grease things, you have to oil things, you have to swap out worn parts. Your extruder is a whole mess of systems. And if you have one thing, like one tolerance, I had the mini afterburner on my V0, I was having all kinds of problems with it, and I couldn't figure out what the hell the deal was. And I got fed up. I took the whole thing apart and switched over to the mini aftershock, which I love, and it's running a stock like LDO motor Sherpa, right? So it's the SLS parts and everything, and it came pre-built and it just worked. Well, when I was taking apart the 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 standard one, I realized, wow, there's like how did that divot get in the face of the motor? Because I didn't sand down the shaft on the large gear for the BMG. I didn't sand the shaft down enough, and so all of my problems were most likely the fact that that shaft, one, wasn't a straight 90 degree. It had a slight angle to it, and it was digging into the face of the motor, which was causing it parasitic drag and friction and heating things up. So had I just solved that problem, I probably wouldn't have needed to go to the mini after Sherpa, but I'm not going to swap it out because the mini after Sherpa is rock solid, you know? Yeah, any motion system is consumable. It has to have some type of maintenance done. It even on your linear rail systems, you will need to re-grease them. So if you don't have grease zerks, or you can't take the dust covers off the carriage and remove whatever was blocking the zerks, um, you may wind up taking your rails off and doing hardcore maintenance. You know, even on the Prusas, you have to do maintenance. You have to maintain those linear bearings, or like if you've done like I have, two of my three Prusa 3s, I moved from linear rods to linear rails. Yeah, CNC. Yeah, same thing. I mean, that's the thing. I honestly just thought of that when you said it. Is I haven't lubed the linear rails. So on my Shapeoko, it's V wheels, and I mean it's the V wheels running on the aluminum slot channels, uh, which I don't worry too much. I make sure and clean those off so I don't grind into those wheels anymore than I need to. But the Z-axis is on linear rod or linear rails, so I do need to go in and do like I do and oil those because I'm pretty sure they're stainless steel, but it's always good to put a little bit of oil just on those rails, especially when it's outside in a woodshed, type of thing. Yeah, exactly. It's just something that you do. It's like if I'm going to go in and make like a single cut on a 2x4 to do something, I'm just going to drop the chop saw and do it, right? But if I'm getting ready to go do a project where I'm going to be making a lot of cuts and a lot of precision cuts, then I'm going to break it out, make sure that it's still at 90 degrees, that everything's lined up perpendicular. I'm going to get 90-degree cuts. And I'm probably going to put I was going to say wax, but it's a different type of wax because normal wax would just melt with the friction. But there's specific types of lubricating style wax that you can put on your saw blades, your band saw blades, and stuff like that. And it prevents them from wearing out as fast, and it makes your cuts clean, right? So it's just like any motion system, you have to take care of it. Now, changing the oil on your car, flushing your hot water tank. Most of us will change the oil on the car or take it somewhere and have it done. How many people change the oil in their lawnmower? Right? Why am I streaming on a Thursday? Because I'm panicking about time. Hey, Miss Dragon, by the way. And I wanted to get started on our new one. So we've now got the skirt. Let me switch cameras here. She's now got her skirt. So she's a proper lady now. She's got her skirt on. And she's got um, her 3 linear rails and the Z-axis arms. We'll add the motors and the lead screws and then work on the gantry on Saturday. But yeah, I just wanted, con crunch. Exactly. I wanted to get this done and get it printing so I had time to tune it before throwing it in the truck. Because it's one thing that if I wasn't even sure if it was going to print, I throw it in the truck, I get there, then I spend the first part of the con just trying to make sure it prints and runs. If I know it prints and runs, then when I get there and it doesn't, then I know that, okay, something got jostled and I know to start looking at it. But yeah, I just started streaming on a Thursday because, well, I can. You're not here to stop me. And but if you were here, I would be hanging out with you and spending time with you, which I'm going to do next Thursday because you're coming home Wednesday night. And I will tell you, believe it or not, Mrs. Dragon, that before I started streaming tonight, I walked out in the front yard and started pulling weeds. It was somewhat therapeutic after the day of work I had to, which we'll talk about later. Yeah, it's chaos. Really, what it is I'm trying to get this one done, and I may start building the Trident concurrent with this one because right now the Trident's sitting on the kitchen counter, and I'm trying to get it off the kitchen counter before you get here. Yes, I did. I pulled like multiple handfuls of weeds today up in that front area. Darn it! Sorry, I didn't. At some point, I'm going to wind up with 2 monitors in front of me, and I'll be able to see everything on the main screen versus trying to catch it out of the corner of my eye. Yes. I pulled some weeds. Yesterday, I was mowing some of the yard, but like I said, I have to do that in spurts because I'm down to the electric mower. I'm trying to get brownie points back before she gets home. Got to keep them brownie points constantly going back into the account. But yes, thank you so much to KB3D, to LDO Motors, providing the motors, for BQ, Big Tree Tech, providing the Manta M8P and the CB1 module that'll go with it. The setup is going to mimic very much what my larger ZeroG downstairs is. So as far as firmware and stuff like that goes, it's going to be real simple to put together. Yeah, KB3D, that was the other thing that they provided too, was the Big Tree Tech EBB, was it 36 CAN bus module or CAN bus toolhead board and the UTC to go with it. So yeah, I appreciate you working with me on that, Chris, and helping me get all these builds done. It's great. I know I bought a ton through you. Hell, I'll probably buy stuff from you at Murph. Just don't let Miss Dragon know how much I bought from you at Murph. Maybe rack some stuff up in a like a prize pack, type thing. Make sure you have an extra box like that for me. Oh yeah, not a problem, Light. That's great. No, I will not be on the lake enjoying Memorial Day. I'm going to stream Saturday, and then Sunday I'm going out to Goldsboro to visit with my parents and my brother and see my new great niece. So my brother's oldest daughter, so my niece, just had a baby. So I'm going to go and see Elena for the first time. So. Oh, there you go, Timor. Nice. Yep. All right. Have a good one, Monlight. Thanks for everybody that came out. Oh, we will connect. Secrets will be shared. Oh God, now she's gonna start mining everybody. She'll be on the Discord server soon, chatting with everybody behind my back. So I got something I printed for you, Digital Dragon, but you gotta wait to see it. Okay, you're gonna be at Murph this year, right? Monlight, you were talking about that. Oh yeah, Timor. Yeah, that training yesterday was rough. It was rough. Like I really did. I was really thinking about gouging my eyes out with spoons. It would hurt less. Yep. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out, Chris. And I'll get in touch with you once I get those DXF files and know whether I can cut those myself or if I will need an assist. Thanks for all that you did. And yeah, definitely chat some more. Let's find somebody to rate out real fast, guys. Who do we have available? I think Babe Ross is doing some art. Gang's up right now. Anchor Deck, of course. Sid Heresy. Tuners playing some games. Let me see who else is up. But it shows me on the Twitch menu. Back to Twitch proper. Hey, Stephen Poole, how have you been doing? Have you been here lurking all day? You been lurking on me? Oh, Polymaker's up too. We got Big Jano. You know what? We haven't gone into Big Jano yet. Let's go over into Big Jano. And yeah, it's Thursday night. Let's go over to Big Jano. He should be running marble races tonight. That's always fun. And Polymaker, they've only got 3 people, so either they're going off or they're just getting on. And when they get on, they're going to go for 2 or 3 hours. So we'll have plenty of time to get over there. Yeah, so we'll jump over to Big Jano, and then yeah, Polymaker probably just started, and then yeah, so yeah, let's go over to Big Jano. We'll play some marbles. We'll have a good time. See what new project he's working on for Murph, and thanks for everybody that came out and hung out with me tonight as I was working on the new ZeroG. Like I said, the 2.4 is printing great. Other than having to do a filament swap on the fly there during the stream, we were good. And take care, stay safe, and we will see you all on Saturday. Thank you very much. Bye bye. And I didn't set the count. There we go. Rating out.